Greetings everyone, welcome back to my sketchbook, a place where I put silly things down on paper. So I saw these on a shelf at my house, and sometimes we have these things so that people can pick out a little cereal treat for themselves. Now, some time ago with Inktober, I don't remember what year, if that's 2021, 22, what have you, I did a picture that had Sam, Toucan Sam, on it. I haven't done anything with this, which is Tony the Tiger. I mean, how cool is that guy? Let's move that out of the way over there. Of course, you have these characters, which is Snap, Crackle, and Pop. And you also have this, which doesn't have a character, which I think is kind of funny. That's something we might explore. But I'm going to play around with the concept of this for a moment first, which I think is kind of funny. I didn't do a lot of research. I did a little bit of research just for fun, and discovered that they've been around since about 1933, and that they were designed by illustrator Vernon Grant. And they didn't look like this when they first showed up. I think they were actually elderly first. And believe it or not, in the 50s, there was a version of these characters where they introduced another one called Pow, who was slightly larger and a lot more boisterous. Anyway, that didn't last very long. But so what I'm going to do is just doodle a little bit. And I'm going to focus on one of those elves, just because I think it's funny. They're supposed to be brothers, right? Snap is the oldest. Crackle is the middle. And Pop is the youngest. And just for fun, we're going to focus a little bit on the youngest, just because I think there's a lot going on here with this character. It's supposed to be dressed like a marching band leader, wearing gloves, that's nice, which I guess they sometimes do. And I think the weird thing is, in a lot of ways, it kind of looks like a bellhop, from like a Wes Anderson movie. Anyway, this isn't going to be exactly like this. I'm going to do my own kind of version. And I like to start with the eyes. So I did one loop there. Let's zoom in on this. We'll lock it down as much as we can lock it down. And let's see what we can do with this. So I hope everyone's having a great day, and that if you are joining along with your pen and paper and your sketchbook, well, I hope you do something kind of fun. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. You can work on other things while I ramble on a little bit. And as I said, I'm not really going to do this exactly the same. That's not really my thing anyway. I like to do my own sort of take on things. Now, am I capable, I guess, of drawing something that looks exactly like... well, maybe, I don't know, but it's not something I like to do anyway. And I admit, I kind of have a little idea in my head while doing this anyway, so... But yeah, no, I don't really like to copy other people's stuff. Now, as I said, there are different versions of these characters. And over the years, I think a lot of people have done different versions as tributes, or in some ways, kind of mocking them a little bit too. Now maybe I'd end up kind of mocking them too, I don't know. Let's say that I am, but not really. Now they don't look anything really like Keebler elves. Or elves that might live on a shelf. I think there might have even been a version of these characters where they were... Let me look at this for a second. Anyway, where they were treated as gnomes. So, there you go, I guess. Now, before I go any further with that, I think I'm going to try to put in the hat, but I don't want it to look exactly the same. Similar. What strange creatures. I think the strangest thing about some of these cereals that I remember from childhood was who got the toy. So sometimes, on very rare occasion, my mother would bring home some weird sugary cereal, and if so-and-so got the toy the last time. So let me kind of change up a little bit of what I'm rambling on about. Typically, whose ever bowl the prize fell into, that's kind of would, they'd kind of get that toy, although not perfectly set up that way. That was kind of the thing, though. And then if someone got it the last time, then you could kind of get dibs on what fell in. Anyway, you could tell when my brother, for example, might get hold of the cereal box and may have checked to see what the toy was if he was interested in it. You might have to ask him about that. But it seemed as if the sides of the box were kind of buckled. So we knew. The toy was always kind of lame too, if I'm being honest. Now, I'm going to change the way that hat looks. Just a little bit. Something, because I did in this case look up Snap, Crackle, Pop, something that seems strange to me is the middle one, Crackle. No one really knows what that character is doing and what their profession might be. You have a band leader, you have a chef, but that other one, it's either he's sleepy and, just getting up and doesn't really have much gumption for anything else. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why there's nothing really going on with that character. This one, we're going to make it silly, I think. And maybe we'll do our best to not make too many lines, and not treat it exactly the same as a sketch. So often the way I would sketch would be to make multiple lines, and then after you choose the line that you like best. Well, I'm not going to do that in this case. This one will have some beautiful buttons. Giving him little scrawny arms. Make the jacket a little bit ornate as well. A little trim piece just like that. Actually, let's finish the look of that. I don't know what sort of joy there is now with breakfast cereals and toys. So does that still exist? Can you still get toys in breakfast cereals? Seems kind of interesting to me. Now, this right here would be where you'd see that belt loop go through the clasp clasp and all that kind of stuff. Just sort of rambling out loud here from the buckle. Yes, I may see if I can find the toucan Sam thing. It might be available in one of the shorts. So we'll see if that is out there somewhere. And I realize, of course, that the way I'm doing this is a little unorthodox, where I'm trying to figure out where things are before I've even roughed it in. But to me, this is kind of like a good practice thing. I already know that I wasn't going to have either one of the hands or arms crossing over the body, so I could get away with doing that. Yeah, just so you're wondering what I was doing up there, I don't really pay attention sometimes to what the camera is recording. I apologize. And yes, as you can see, I'm still into doing pinkies sticking out for some reason. I just think it's funny. Okay. Kind of a stippling, but not really. That's what I was doing up there, which you may not see. Now, naturally, I would think I would kind of want to draw Crackle, because Crackle seems to be wearing some version of Chuck Taylors, which are shoes that I wear. I'm a big fan of Chuck Taylors. I'm not sponsored by Chuck Taylor, in case you're wondering. But this character doesn't seem to be wearing regular footwear. This might be a version of marching boots. So that's what we're going to give this character to wear. Some of those details might disappear if I decide to color in the boots with anything too dark. So I'll try to think of maybe just gray. Something like that. Put like a little pull tab on them too. Just makes them easier to get on and off. Not so unreasonable. Perforation. Another perforation. A partial perforation because it got torn just a little bit. Whole thing might swing around just a little bit too. Perforation and a bad tear there. So let's very lightly This is silly. So we're about, well, 26.5 minutes. Not too serious for our little doodle. Now, this is where we go into low key, but not Loki like, you know, Thor's brother. This is where we go into the mode of cleaning up a little bit of the lines, adding in the extra detail that takes away from some of the rough look of what we got going on. And throw in a little bit of shadow here and there. And it's that extra detail, I think, that makes a difference with your drawing. Huge difference, actually. Sometimes I like to finish the face. Sometimes I like to finish other parts. And it's surprising, you know, like at some point you might start your drawing and be pretty disappointed. And the more you kind of work on it, the more you can kind of make things a little bit better. And that's always something that I enjoy. Those weird little disappointment moments when you're like about to crumple it up. And you know, sometimes you get the proportions wrong and it's really hard to fix that. In fact, you can't fix certain things once it's down in ink on paper. I mean, this is sketchbook. And we're okay with making mistakes in the sketchbook. This is the best place to make that mistake, too. Now, I'm going to work on this just a little bit. In my head, I picture there being kind of like really fun frilly trim, but I don't think I'm going to bother with that. This is not a commissioned piece or anything like that. This is just for fun. So let's see what we can do with this one. Just those extra little bits of embellishment kind of add a little bit more life to something. I'll do a little bit underneath here. Interesting. Now, I do believe the main part of what I've done here is done. I'll do a little bit more on the legs down here. Then I'll work on the face of the character a little bit. And we'll throw a little bit of color on it. So first we'll do the bottom part of the coat. Get on the pants here. Okay. I don't mind the shoes, or the boots, I should say. I will just sort of do a quick outline on them though. So if this is your first time hanging out here, a great way, if you're interested, I should say, in going back and seeing some of the other wacky or silly things that I have worked on in my sketchbook, you can go to the shorts as a way of introducing myself to you, I suppose. And all those clips are way less than a minute, so you're not sitting through, 3 hours of real-time drawing. You get to see something in the middle of it or towards the end of a little project. And if you're actually spending time working on things and I'm your background voice, cool beans, thank you for that as well. Although in natural video form, you won't hear me ask too often if you have subscribed or not. Feel free to, though. You don't have to leave like notifications on or anything like that. You can just check back in every once in a while. Leave a message if you'd like to see me doodle something in particular. Okay, well, I think the main part of the outlining is done. I don't think I need to do much more even around the face for now. I think some parts of that are going to clean up in the colorization of it. So I'm going to use this color for the flesh of our little friend. And it's going to draw out some of the ink that I used. And it's going to create sort of like a natural shade in certain areas, which is why I like to use this type of marker. I suppose that's why some people like alcohol markers, is because of the blending that you can do with them. See if we can get a little bit of shade pulled out from under the nose here towards the divot of the lip. And the under part of the lip here, with the chin, like that. Now I'm going to do something a little silly. I'm looking for very light pink. I'm going to do a little bit of rosiness here. A little bit on this side. A little bit in here in the corner of the eye. We'll get back at this. Do a little bit more in there. I'm just kind of like what I would say splashing color in there, so it looks a little streaky for now. Do that in the hands here as well. Next, I'm going to use a bit of yellow. Let me go right up so you can see that as well. This color just enough. We'll do it solid yellow. The trim around the coat, although it'll be a little muddied. A bit more there. A golden buckle. And beautiful buttons. right. Now let's see what this red will be like. Let's start down here. Kind of trace around the outside first. That way it can move a little quicker when filling in those lines without a wild overlap of colors that I don't really want to do, so I'm careful there and a little bit on the outside of the line, closer to the line. So yes, if you had a favorite cereal growing up, you can comment that down below. I'd get a kick out of that. If there was a prize that was most valued, let me know. If you still have it, which very few probably do. Like I remember, I think there were decoder rings, so you'd have like, you know, secret messages that you could leave somewhere and no one else would know how to decipher what the message was, or at least that was sort of the thing behind it. So that only you and whoever had that special, you know, Alan Turing capability, only you would know what the message was about. Like that mattered. I don't know what secrets you'd have to hide, recipes. Maybe Colonel Sanders was into that. I think in marching bands, I've always had a lot of respect for those in marching bands. And I think it was because they sometimes followed horses. And that wasn't easy because you kind of had to march in formation, right? You're not always having to look down. And sometimes you'd walk through stuff that naturally you would step over. So you need good boots. That takes care of the red. Now we're going to go to blue. See if we can get this one a little bit quicker. Although really I'm not timing myself for any reason at all. Neville the cat hasn't screamed at me, so that's okay. Just like that. Got a quick look at these boots. Let's see if we can get a light gray. Some of the detail will disappear, I'm sure. That was kind of strange. Go up here to the can for a moment. Now we'll go up here. I'm going to do that band in gray, but I'll darken it a little bit more. Same with the strap that goes down under the chin. Now, honestly, I don't know if I should go with a specific color for the eyes or not. I could just choose like brown, I suppose. Why not? Oh, that darkened in really fast, didn't it? That is funny. Next, just a little bit up here. But I'm going to pretend that it's sort of shiny in certain spots. dip my dip pen, and up here I'm going to write that. It's fairly silly. A little bit of this around the eyes and hair and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you heard that. That was my buddy Neville saying it's been just about an hour. Which is plenty of time to put into a silly drawing. Okay. Last thing I'm going to do, well, not last thing. So I'm going to smooth out some of the color just a little bit using a brush and some water. Takes a little bit of that streakiness away. And it blends just a little bit too. It's amazing what a smudgy kind of thing can do for your drawings. It's just kind of weird. A little bit on the ears, but we'll keep it kind of dark on the underside, light on the top, just a little bit. Just kind of working from top down to the bottom here. Rinse away that a little bit. A little bit of that lower part of the jacket. Then we'll swing through the belt just a little bit. Let it smooth out. Now for the pants. I'm not going to do this with the boots. Now before I do that, or the next thing I should say, we're going to visit this can of magic here. And get two different types of markers. So I do have fun purpley, but first I'm going to draw some just little scrolly nonsense things here. That way I don't actually have to write words on it. Now you may remember I did some little speckly things earlier, which are going to come in kind of handy here in a moment. I'm going to use purple here next, and I'm just going to put little tiny embellishments down here. Because it makes the can beautiful. And then here, oh, this could be the most wonderful air freshener. Could be lavender and fresh laundry, or you know, the stuff that doesn't really mask anything. It's more of a I don't know, a distraction maybe. I don't know what the point of some of these sprays really are. That doesn't really perfectly neutralize the air. It's more of a sometimes a spotlight on the tragedy that may have happened. So yeah, I'm not really a big fan of bathroom sprays. I find that they're not really in existence for masking anything. Right now what I'm doing is I'm leaving the hints behind with a little bit of stuff going on. Well, that's exciting. All right. Just cleaning the brush a little bit. Last thing that I'm going to do with this. Ooh. Let's see if that, I don't know why that went out of focus. I'll do a little bit of an outline on it very quickly again. And then I think that'll be pretty much it for as far as I want to go with this silly thing. So yes, of course I realize that real-time drawings are pretty rare, especially with YouTube. Which is part of the reason why I do have some of the shorts as well. Do a little bit around the nose here if I can. Sharpen up the mouth. A little bit on the legs. I think that'll be all that I will outline for my sketchbook. And up here I will have so you can see it. How about that? Dip my brush. Well, I don't know why I called it a brush. It is obviously a pen. I think it's funny that with commercials for cereal, they don't talk about how possibly unhealthy certain parts of them really are. They say that it's a part of your balanced breakfast, the same way as a candy bar could be part of your balanced breakfast, which could be, there's no benefit to taking a candy bar, I suppose, and adding it to what is already pre-existing as a balanced breakfast. So I think there's a trick in wording when they say such a thing. Well, just that face it's just a bit much. It's nice that I amuse myself, I guess, but listen, folks, I'll back this out a little bit, and that'll be the run of it, really. So there we go. A very silly thing based on that. And yeah, no, I made sure the gloves were off. Anyway, look, it's been great that you've hung out with me, and hopefully we'll see you again at some point in the near future. All right, ciao for now.